really go to Pierre Poilievre, the difference between Pierre Poilievre's approach here. Axe the tax, he's got the T-shirt, he's got the slogan, that's all he'd do. He doesn't care about the rebate checks disappearing. He doesn't care about our businesses becoming more competitive. We started this evening talking about the absolute need for our country to diversify our trade, to build with new allies. Climate change, addressing climate change, and I've spent a huge part of my career addressing it, both in terms of policy and leading the largest clean energy investor in the world, okay? But a big part of climate change is about the economic opportunity. We will not have access to the European market unless we make the progress here. So we have to do two things. We have to supercharge some of the programs that have been put in place, so businesses are getting their emissions down. We are a clean energy superpower, and we have to make all of those households whole on the rebate checks that they will no longer receive. That requires a middle-class tax cut. It requires additional measures, including, final point, polluters paying those households so their energy is more affordable and cleaner.
We have 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock, and we're going to have to stick to this. So I want to get through all of you. Ms. Freeland first.
Rhonda, you asked something very specific. What was the moment when I recognized that we needed a different approach? And I can tell you very specifically what that moment was. It was a meeting I had with Wab Kinew, the Premier of Manitoba, really shortly after he was elected. And he is a great progressive leader in, I would say, the tradition of prairie progressives. He says the economic horse has to pull the social cart. I love that. And he said to me, I believe in climate action, but I've just been through an election and the people of Manitoba are telling me that the way the consumer price on pollution works doesn't work for them. Can I do a deal with the federal government where we hit our targets, but we do it in a different way? And that, to me, is leadership. Leadership is listening to people. It is not being inflexible and not telling people what their lives are like, but hearing them. And so I really believe if we want climate action, which is essential, we have to listen to Canadians. And if we fail to do that, the threat is, the danger is that Pierre Poilievre will be elected and he will dismantle all of the excellent work we have done on climate. We have to recognize that. We have to show Canadians we hear them and that we're listening to what they tell us rather than telling them what they should be thinking.
Okay, I'm going to jump in there because we do have to stick to time now. Ms. Gould, you're up next.
Thank you so much. So just a couple of things with respect to my colleagues. Literally the whole reason why we have the carbon tax backstop is because premiers across this country decided they didn't want to participate. So if Manitoba wants to participate, then the consumer price on carbon from the federal government disappears. That's what happens in Quebec. That's what happens in British Columbia. With respect to Mark and the middle class tax cut, the math just doesn't add up. If you are a middle-class individual, that tax cut is looking at about $800 a year. The carbon rebate for a family of four is $1,200 a year, and it doesn't help low-income or no-income Canadians. So it is really important to have a real conversation with Canadians, and if you don't have a plan for those checks, then we don't have a plan for affordability.